In our last lecture, we introduced the idea of an ecosystem, and we said that an ecosystem includes all the animals and the abiotic, non-living things in a certain area that are interacting. What if you just look at only the interacting animals and plants and living things? Well, that's called a community, and it sort of sits in between the biosphere on one hand and individual species on another hand. An individual or a species of individuals is often called a population. And when you have interacting species, interacting groups of living animals and plants and other organisms, it's called a community. Now, communities are everywhere. You may find them right outside of your back door. The community of animals and plants in your backyard include earthworms and grasses and birds that come and visit your yard, and all kinds of bacteria that you can't even see. Even closer to home, in your shower, there's all kinds of stuff growing on your shower curtain. That's not just one type of organism. It's actually a population of one type of bacteria and another type of bacteria, all helping each other to eke out an existence on your shower curtain. So they're all over the place, and they can be large or small, just like ecosystems. So this idea of breaking it into ecosystems versus community is just a helpful tool as you learn biology, because there are certain things that you can't really discuss unless you talk about the full ecosystem with the air and water and soil all interacting, these non-living things. Now, you may ask yourself, which is bigger, a community or an ecosystem? Well, if it's the same exact region of space that you're talking about, the exact same region, then the ecosystem, of course, will be a little bit bigger because it includes the non-living things. So you can think about that. But there are ranges of sizes of both of them, so they can go from very small, like shower curtain size, all the way up to the level that we start calling biomes, and that we will learn about in the next lecture. An example of a interaction between a non-living system and a living system is the interplay between CO2 and the community of animals in the water, like in marine environments. One such example is the research that's being done at the Monterey Bay Aquarium in California. They are taking careful measurements of the types of interactions between species of animals underwater that are now being affected by rising CO2 levels. Now, you may ask yourself, how does the rising carbon dioxide levels that we hear about caused by humans burning fossil fuels, how does that affect the ocean? Well, it turns out that when CO2 dissolves in liquid like water, it can change its chemical formula, and it can turn water more acidic. That is actually what happens in the blood. If you don't get rid of your CO2 by exhaling, your blood pH can actually become more acidic. And so that's why you start to feel the urge to breathe. Well, the same thing happens in oceans. When there's more CO2 in the environment, there's going to be a higher acidity. And that's going to have a big effect on the ecosystem or the community of animals in that space. For example, it turns out that crustaceans do better. They actually have more diversity, more of them are allowed to be alive as CO2 levels have risen a little bit. But then if you do an experiment where you increase it into even higher levels, they're of course not going to do so well with those lower pHs. But everything else, unfortunately, besides crustaceans, coral, mollusks, and all these other things, don't do so well. In fact, even with slight changes in the CO2 levels, they are not going to be as prevalent. So things are going to change as a result of human activity. And like we said last time, part of learning biology is learning what effects humans are having on our environment, on the ecosystems, and on the community of animals that are interacting in each different space on Earth. If you're going a little bit deeper, this is the time to learn about the branch population, community and systems ecology, and there's several leaves under there. These are the leaves that bring back Uno's cube. So something that we talked about at the very beginning of these lectures that helps organize the different components of biology. These leaves also talk about the differences between community, population, ecosystem, biome, etc.